Today, we'll have a discussion on public land transportation services back-to-back with our ocean's dwindling fish resources. Good morning. I'm Attorney Karen Jimeno, and this is At the Forefront. Attorney Ariel Inton, spokesperson of the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, has long been a vocal advocate for commuter rights and fair regulation in the transport sector. From pushing back against discriminatory fare practices to clarifying complex modernization policies, he stands at the intersection of law and daily commuter concerns. How will LTFRB policies take us on the road to genuine transport reform? With us this morning is the spokesperson of the LTFRB, Attorney Ariel Inton. Good morning, Attorney Ariel.
Yes, good morning, Attorney Karen. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for your presence today.
Anytime.
So let's talk about 10 issues that are currently being handled by the LTFRB. And Attorney Ariel, please discuss the policies of LTFRB and the actions of LTFRB regarding these issues. So let's start with issue number 1. LRT fare increase was implemented recently. When will traditional and modern jeepneys increase their fares?
There is a pending petition for fare increase by several transport groups. And in their petition, they also have a prayer for provisional fare increase. Meaning to say, if wala pa yun permanent decision doon, they're asking for provisional. However, wala pa to. No? The LTFRB board is still waiting for the NEDA recommendation because LTFRB board, before deciding on fare hike or fare reduction issues, will ask the economic agencies of the government the recommendation for the impact economically, not only sa mga pasahero but elsewhere.
Since when po
since right
pending
now,
itong petition?
months ago, so it's still
Months
pending.
ago.
But recent developments, you will see in the media that I think the transport groups already are asking to resolve their application for fare increase even provisionally.
Yeah.
So we just have to wait for the board to decide on it, and eventually the board will come out with a decision.
Magkano po ba yung hinihinging increase?
They are asking 1 peso yata.
1 peso.
Pero hindi, yung iba, they are asking for more. But,
so there are several petitions
several
that have been
petitions.
filed. Magkano po yung pinakamataas na increase na hinihingi?
I could not recall kasi depende sa sa denomination. There are those sa UV Express, traditional jeepneys, modern jeeps.
Okay, but 1 peso to may range po ba kayo na up to 3 pesos?
I think the board will decide on it.
Pero sa ganong katagal, you said it's been pending for months, hindi ba napapag-iwanan ng mga ibang events yung pangyayari by the time i-grant yung increase? Let's say the war in Russia-Ukraine, let's say, gets worse, and then the effects of the tariff, the U.S. tariffs.
Well, we can recall that when there was a war between Israel and Iran, di ba, na the per barrel of the global prices of diesel went up. So, at that point, meron ng, I don't know if it was from an interview of the chairman, Attorney Jojo Guadis, na yes, we will resolve it. Parang ganon. Parang may ganon. But eventually, the per barrel went as high as 75, 76. In other words, it might reach 80. Now, under the law, pagka 80 na per barrel, automatic, you distribute the fuel subsidy.
Yeah.
So,
At hindi umabot sa 80
hindi
pesos
umabot
at that
doon.
time.
So, naset aside yun. Ang sabi ng DOTR, wag muna. No, because baka pwedeng yung fuel subsidy ibigay. In fact, ang sabi nga ng DOTR, ang fuel subsidy bibigay rin natin dun sa mga hindi nakapag-consolidate. So that was the scenario then. However, parang nagkaroon ng truce. So it went down again. So when it went down again, Malacanang said, okay, so wala muna tayong distribution of fuel subsidy. No? However, we were ready. No? Ano na ho kami noon? Ready na ho by that time. So that added to the time element. Kaya ngayon,
Kaya hindi pa rin decided
kaya
kung
ngayon,
fair increase.
Sinasabi ng mga nag-file, abay, decision na niyan.
Would you know kung gaano ka ma-expect, gaano ka soon natin ma-expect yung decision ng board?
I have no idea.
No idea, okay.
Kasi,
Issue number 2 na po tayo.
As a former board member myself before of LTFRB, ang ginagawa kasi dyan, dinidiscussion among the board members. And then, pagka nandiyan na yung mga recommendation of economic agencies, then we decide.
Okay. So
However,
let's go
ito
po
maganda,
to...
no?
Oo.
Pagka provisional kasi, immediately executory.
Yeah. So sana rin baka
Kaya pagka
provisional.
meron na-declare na, okay yung provisional, that's immediately executory.
Okay. Issue number 2, what measures does LTFRB have in place to prevent fare manipulation and overcharging by public utility drivers? Recently, we've had foreign vloggers and ordinary Filipinos that have made news when they complained how they were overcharged upon airport arrival.
That is what we call the Joint Administrative Order 2014-01, I think. So, nandun yung mga penalty for overcharging. So, yes, maraming nag-overcharge, no? At ito ay franchise violation. That is on the part of LTFRB. But when you ask LTO, pagka nag-overcharge yung driver, pwedeng matanggalan ng lisensya or masuspend because of what they call improper driver. So, iba yung LTO, kanila yung lisensya. Sa LTFRB, yun prangkisa. So, as far as LTFRB is concerned, if the driver overcharge, tumatama yun sa operator, sa franchise. So, they will be issued the standard na SCO, show cause order, for them to explain why their franchise should not be suspended or revoked. Because overcharging is a serious franchise violation.
Okay.
Pero sa JAW, I think, if I recall correctly, first offense 5,000 and then it gradually increased.
Yun ang diretso dun sa driver na penalties.
It gradually increased
Yeah.
pagka talamak na yung Ngayon, bakit nagkakaroon ng ito? Yun sa, yun nga, it's a good thing that Secretary Vince Dizon is proactive here, no?
Yeah.
DOTR Secretary Vince Dizon, talagang he himself talagang pumupunta dun sa tinitingnan niya mabuti because when you overcharge passengers, no, you are actually extorting already. Di ba? Ito lang yung pasahe and then nag-overcharge ka. It's as if ninanakawan mo na yung pasahero mo.
Okay, issue number 3. What is the policy of LTFRB on the issue of PWD and plus-size commuters being discriminated? Kasi meron daw mga transport groups, especially tricycles and jeeps, that are asking for additional fares for plus-size commuters and PWDs because they take up more space and have an effect on gas consumption.
Matagal na issue na yan, ma'am. Pero sa tricycle, it is the LGU, the respective LGU, ang dapat sa kanila, ang may jurisdiction. Because
po
tricycles are not within the jurisdiction of LTFRB. Ngayon, recently, a few months ago, maraming ganyan nangyari na a PWD or a plus-size passenger are being, sabihin natin, the plus-size passenger, they are charged double. Yung PWD naman, hindi papasakayin. No? Why? Not only the PWD, but also senior citizen because they are entitled to 20% discount. No? Minsan, iniiwasan yan. That is also a franchise violation. And dapat hindi po ganon. No? At very, ano po kami dyan, very strict. Sa plus size, yung tinatawag nila na, kunyari, he or she accommodates more space. Pero wala naman ganun sa batas. Wala ganun sa memorandum circular. What is in the memorandum circular of LTFRB is one passenger, this is the fare. Regardless of his weight, his appearance, or anything else.
Or the age.
Or the age. No? So, kailangan isa lang yon. Hindi. Ano sila? Paano kung apat yung mataba? So, wala nang ano. Ganun talagang, hindi mo pwedeng i-overcharge yan. Bakit? Paano kung hindi naman puro ganun ang, mo? What if puro payat? Di ba? So, hindi pwede yon. That is discrimination. When you discriminate passengers, no, because you overcharge, that is a franchise violation. Sa PWD naman, in all public transport, there is a PW seat reserved for PWD. No? And
Except for tricycles, no? Pagka mga buses, meron talaga. But like you said, kaya tricycles, kailangan sa local government ka mag-report.
So PWD, PWD is entitled to 20% discount. Senior citizen din. Student, kailangan ibigay yan. Hindi pwedeng i-deny yan. Ngayon, bakit ba minsan yung driver ayaw? Paano kasi wala silang bawi, kumbaga, nababawasan kita nila. But actually, it should have been reported pag nag-file ka ng income tax as deduction. Hindi naman nagpapayad.
Pero ba, complicated naman din po kasi yan para sa mga drivers na...
Totoo.
Diba? So, kailangan siguro tulungan po sila.
Tama. Kaya, hindi mo, kaya minsan, wala silang bawi doon sa discount. Not unlike when you go to the restaurant. Diba? Properly documented. Pirma yun. Dito hindi. So, how can you prove na nagbigay ka ng discount sa mga pasahero entitled to the discount? That is, I think, Congress has to look into. Kasi kawawa talaga yung mga driver. They are the ones who shoulder that loss. Kaya yun nagkaroon sa TNVS. Ang sinabi ng TNVS, hindi pwedeng driver ang mag-shoulder. So, LTFRB came out with a solution, 50% the transport network company, 50% the owner of the vehicle, not the driver, because wala nang bawi yung driver. Yun ang nagiging problema. Sana makita po ng ating mga congressman to, para sa ganon, nabibigay mo yung discount sa mga PWD, senior, sa estudyante, but at the same time, hindi naapektuhan yung kita ng mga driver.
That's very enlightening po. Sana nga gawa ng solusyon. Okay, issue number 4, MRT and LRT1 granting 50% discount to students. Pinag-aaralan din po ba ng LTFRB kung paano bibigyan ng additional discounts ang mga students in other public transport?
Wala po ngayon because it's a law. Nasa batas. So, if ever na may move na ganyan, then perhaps the board will take it up.
Okay. But this is need Congress to act as well?
Yung ma'am, ang problema dyan, walang bawi yung driver.
Oo nga kung magbigay na naman. Or there has to be some type of assistance, admin assistance to the drivers. Na para madali for them. Oo, mahirap naman na yung accounting sa kanila pa
Yes,
iaasa.
ma'am. Tama yun.
Okay. Issue number 5, PUV drivers to undergo formal driving academy lessons to address the issue of recent accidents. Are you seriously considering the implementation of a driving academy?
The Drivers Academy, kahit nung panahon ko po doon, that was about 10 years ago. As a board member, meron na po yan eh. Kaya lang, hindi nga masyadong natututukan. But under the leadership of Atty. Jojo Aguadis, present chairman of LTFRB, that's one of his projects na gusto niya ipatupad.
Issue number 6, too many permits given to TNVS and taxis is a cause of our traffic problem. Ano po ba ang ginagawa ng LTFRB para masagot ang problema na ito?
Permit meaning
Yung
too
mga,
many...
I guess marami masyadong nag-ooperate na TNVS and taxis.
Okay. Alam niyo kasi yung sa yung TNVS, pagka tingnan mo yung hindi lahat nag-ooperate regularly.
Ito po yung mga Grab, no?
Opo, yung mga So, kapag binilang mo using our data, hindi ganun kadami talaga. Yun regular na tumatakbo. But I think, ganito, wala pa kasing batas rin yan. No? So we have to rely on the department order of the OTR and the memorandum circular ng LTFRB. Hindi pa po na-reach yung maximum numbers. Oo.
May maximum po tayo sa batas.
Sa memorandum circular sa ng LTFRB.
May naisip po ba at any
I'm talking
point?
about TNVS.
Yes, TNVS.
Pagka sa taxi naman, sa taxi, you would see meron na yung mga yung color green na taxi.
What do you mean green?
Color green. I forgot the pero
GSM green.
GSM.
Ano po siya?
Parang high-end niya, I think electric yata sila.
Okay. But does that make a difference in terms of what types of permits they
What
get?
I mean to say is that meron pa rin, pwede pa rin mag-accommodate. May nai-issuean pa rin. Walang, again, yun na, kung na-reach na yung point na madami, I think hindi pa rin.
Meron po ba kayong coordination with DOTR in terms of solving the traffic problem wherein pagka na-roll out na talaga yung mga mass transit natin, yung mga trains that would connect to Manila, Manila to Clark, Manila to Clark, Bulacan, ay babawasan yung mga franchises for taxis, TNVS?
Wala pa pong, hindi pa po nakakarating doon. But I think kung sakaling meron ng doon na we have
subway,
already the trains, the subway, yung feeder route ang kailangan nating i-develop. Yung feeder route.
Feeder route is which one?
Yeah, for instance, pag sasakay ka sa terminal na to, yun, mga pasahero, para makarating doon sa terminal, needs public transport. So that we call feeder. For instance, if this station is in Cubao, how do the passengers reach Cubao station? Kailangan may feeder route.
Oo.
Yun.
Okay, maganda pong pag-aralan niya, no? Na
doon
eventually
mapupunta yung mga iba.
Oo.
Sa feeder routes.
Okay. Issue number 7, what is LTFRB doing to apprehend colorum vehicles, especially motorcycles and taxis?
Okay. Magandang tanong po yan. Ang akala kasi ng tao, generally, LTFRB has enforcement powers. No, we don't have. LTFRB is regulatory, a regulatory agency with quasi-judicial function. Ibig sabihin, nagde-decide ng kaso, ang jurisdiction nga yun sa public transport. Pag enforcement, LTO po. LTO. Kaya, ano ginagawa namin? Kapag meron kaso, dinidecide ng court yun, ng LTFRB board, and they impose the proper penalty.
totoo po ba na...
Yung enforcement na
Oo.
tagahuli,
Yeah, it's really LTO's job.
LTO. In fact, there is a department order from the Department of Justice a few years back from Secretary Remulla na LTFRB alone cannot or have no power to apprehend colorum vehicles. Alone, So, kailangan
yung
kasama ang
accompanying ng LTO to have that authority to enforce and
Ganun din
apprehend.
sa JAW. Kaya, ang LTFRB, kaya nga bakit kailangan pa magkaroon ng hearing sa LTFRB? Ganun po talaga. Kasi quasi-judicial function. So, you give notice to the respondent. Kunyari, may nagdemanda na sa isang driver sa isang operator.
For example, yung overcharging, no? You have to hear it kasi baka ma-revoke yung...
They are given the chance to refute the...
Yes.
Pero hindi naman ganun katagal yun. Madali lang po yun.
Eh, totoo po ba na around 20 lang daw yung LTFRB examiners?
Inspectors,
yes.
Well, I don't know if ganun po yung mismong number, but I can attest to the fact na kulang po. Not because konti, kundi marami.
Sa dami ng kailangan i-regulate.
Okay, I'll give you an example. Ito, sa news, nagkaroon tayo na sabi, total ban yung public transport. Kailangan may garahe, di ba? When you are an operator, kailangan may garahe ka para sa mga sasakyan mo. But go around the city. At night, you will see public transport nakapark sa kalye.
Kasi wala sila, they don't comply with the requirement na magkagarahe. Okay.
And can you expect inspectors na ganun ka, it's an undermanned, agency. Sana palakasin po yung ahensya. Kasi yung LTFRB was created by Executive Order 202 during the time of the late President Cory Aquino. How many years have passed?
Yes.
Dati wala naman TNVS, TNC. Dati hindi naman ganun karami yung public transport, di ba? Eh ngayon, I think 1986 yun. After 40 years, kailangan meron na po. There are several proposals in Congress before. I read some of them. LTFRB is, yung mga bill na yung pinapalakas yung LTFRB. But didn't pass through.
So perhaps this is something that needs to be lobbied in the 20th Congress. Mukhang marami na pong kailangan i-revise talaga sa batas.
Eto, motorcycle taxi. Wala pa naman batas yan eh. Every year, meron magfa-file na congressman to legalize motorcycle taxi. No?
So ito yung mga
Pero
angkas.
wala, hindi.
So up to now, ang mga angkas, wala pa silang
sariling
parang permit.
It is allowed to operate under what we call pilot test. But the pilot test, which was good for 6 months, it's already 6 years.
6 years na? Okay.
Approaching
so
6 years.
kailangan na talaga ng...
Bakit they are waiting for the law.
Pero kailangan na talaga
kada kongreso na lang
mga
may nagpa-file.
guidelines. Yeah.
Pero wala pa rin.
Okay. So I hope you can
until now,
raise this.
Ang may jurisdiction dyan is what we call a technical working group, which is made up of several government agencies like LTO, LTFRB, DOTR, no? But that technical working group was created by a mere committee of the House of Representatives.
Sino po ba ang nagtutulak ng mga kinakailangang reforma sa transportation? Does LTFRB have
LTFRB kasi implementing agency lang po
legislative liaison, or
LTFRB is only an implementing agency.
Yeah, oo. Pero sana may mag-coordinate po sa Congress for the necessary reforms.
Meron naman po mga congressmen na nakikipag-coordinate para dyan.
Okay. Issue number 8, LTFRB on crackdown against overloaded public transport. During rush hour, how are you doing this considering the traffic this might cause?
Okay, overcharging, sabi nga nila,
Ito po,
kulang
overloading.
Kulang
Oo.
yung public transport. Yan nga lang po yung picture natin siya na pagka kulang. Talagang mag-overcharge,
Mag-overload,
mag-overload.
yeah.
However, we think we have to start somewhere. Ang overloading, delikado sa pasahero. No? At ang overloading is also a franchise violation. Ilang ba lang yung dapat isakay? Depende sa sasakyan. No? Example, yung traditional jeepney, depende kung ilan yung naisasakay. Ganon din sa modern jeepney. Sa bus, ganon din. But allowed in standing under a memorandum circular, 5 passengers per square meter. Hanggang dun lang. But this is, hindi napapabayaan. Ngayon, kung pababayaan naman natin ganito to, kawawa yung mga pasahero. No, kailangan disiplina din sa mga pasahero na kapag puno na, huwag na tayong sumakay. Yung mga nakasabit, delikado po yun.
Oo nga, delikado talaga. Pero kung in-enforce strictly, hindi ba masasabing anti-poor ito because kulang nga talaga ang transport available?
This is always true during rush hour. Pagka hindi naman rush hour, wala naman masyadong overloading. Di ba? So, I must admit na kailangan din damihan yung mga sasakyan. Pero hindi naman pwedeng, hindi pa kayo nagdadagdag, so sabit pa rin kami, overload. Hindi naman pwedeng ganon kasi kawawa naman yung mga pasahero.
Hindi
so,
rin talaga safe.
Let's have a dynamic balance in a sense na while it is true na during rush hour, punuan, bigyan din naman natin ng pansin yung safety ng pasahero.
Issue number 9, how does the agency coordinate with transport groups to ensure smoother implementation of the Jeepney Modernization Program?
Yun sa Jeepney Modernization Program, maglalabas po ang DOTR ng bagong
Guidelines po.
guidelines. Opo.
Kailan po ba target nila na mag-implement na talaga to?
I'm not privy to it, ma'am.
Meron po bang ginagawa ang LTFRB to support the drivers of jeepneys in this transition to the modernization program?
Yes, meron pong nabibigay na pantawid pasada. If nag-ano na po kayo, nag-consolidate.
Okay, issue number 10, how is LTFRB preparing to regulate emerging transport services such as e-trikes, e-scooters, and bike-sharing platforms?
Wala pa po.
Wala pa?
Apa.
Napapag-usapan na po ba to?
Siguro in the coming months perhaps kasi nakatuon muna tayo. Kasi itong mga to, they are not mass transport e-trikes, gano'n. But ang masasabi natin dito is kapag electric vehicle, medyo binibigyan ng priority.
Okay.
Apo, para dyan. Because ang mas gusto ng LTFRB, yung mass transportation.
Mass transportation, opo. O kailangan talaga.
Apo.
Final
But
question
I
po.
think yan kailangan sa LTO, mas maganda itanong.
Mas ng jurisdiction
paano
ng
nila
LTO?
paparehistro.
Well, final question po, Attorney Ariel. Ano ang mensahe ng LTFRB para sa mga pasaherong umaasa sa ligtas, abot kaya at maasahang serbisyo ng pampublikong transportasyon?
Well, under the directive of the government, President BBM, and then Secretary Vince Dizon, ang LTFRB is mandated to give the passengers the convenience that they deserve, protection that they deserve. Kaya yun ang nakatuon ng LTFRB. Kung sakaling may pagkukulang po kami, sabihin niyo po. At kami naman, we always have room for improvement there. As I said, I hope the congressmen will have to review this. LTFRB was created by a mere executive order, EO 202.
Almost 50 years ago.
40 years ago.
Yeah.
Marami na pong nagbago. Marami na nadagdag na public transport. Kinakailangan po palakasin natin ayon siya.
And finally, since you mentioned that overcharging is something that can affect the franchise of operators sa LTFRB, saan po pwede mag-report?
Okay, we have a Facebook page and we also have yung 1342 na hotline. But if kung ano, usually marami gumagawa to, they post it. Kami naman, meron naman kaming taga-tingin yan.
Talaga? So pag yung mga nag-post lang.
Ako mismo, tinitingnan
Pero
ko
at
yan.
least siguro sa mga mahiyain, just go to your Facebook page and then you can report there at may
Opo.
sasagot po.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much, Attorney Ariel Inton.
Thank you also.
Good luck sa mga initiatives niyo po.
Thank you.
We'll have an international NGO focused on ocean conservation and their disheartening report on Philippine seas when At the Forefront returns after a short break. With the Philippines having one of the world's richest marine ecosystems, protecting the rights of small-scale fishers and preserving ocean resources have never been more urgent. Oceana champions science-based policies that ensure food security, sustainable fishing, and climate resilience in coastal communities. What more needs to be done to safeguard our seas and our fisher folks who depend on them? Joining us is the Senior Director for Campaign, Legal, and Policy of Oceana, Attorney Rose Liza Aisma Osorio. Good morning, Attorney Liza.
Good morning, Karen. Happy to be here.
So Oceana recently came out with a report regarding the dwindling fisheries production since 2010 for both commercial and municipal fishing. Ano po ang nakakabahala sa report na ito?
What's very alarming here is, the impacts of the dwindling fish catch, no? Especially the direct impacts sa mga maliliit na mangingisda natin, the artisanal fisher folks in the Philippines. Kasi sila ay, directly dependent on these resources and ito yung primary source of livelihood nila. There are over 2.5 million fishers, municipal fishers in the Philippines, and they also contribute to the food security of local communities, their fish catch. So ito po yung nakakabahala sa report na recently that we released.
Does the report also indicate what causes the dwindling fish catch? Because in the sea, mahirap yung borders, not like with the land, di ba? Madali
Yes.
mong makontrol ano yung lalabas. But here, technically, the fish can just roam even beyond our territorial waters. So yung mga issues with other countries fishing in our territorial waters can affect that dwindling supply.
Yes, so Attorney Karen, yung effect nito would be yung illegal, unreported, unregulated fishing. IUU fishing ang tawag natin ito. And usually inside the Philippine territorial waters, we protect the 15-kilometer municipal waters from the coastline. Ito ay reserved for our artisanal fishers. Pero maraming encroachment or intrusion ng commercial or industrial fishing vessels into the municipal waters.
So that includes Filipinos din talaga,
yes.
yung nag-overfish in a sense.
Yes, inside our municipal waters. So yun po yung isa. And of course, in our EEZ, of course, marami ding encroachment, especially in the western part of the country, the West Philippine Sea. So yun, dapat sana, di ba, the exclusive economic zones are for Filipinos, for exploration, exploitation of the resources. Pero alam natin, hindi natin, we observe based on our Karagatan Patrol, which is an online platform that we have that detects, super lights or strong lights used by fishing vessels. marami talagang nagpopondo in the West Philippine Sea area, especially in our exclusive economic zones. The West Philippine Sea is actually the source of our larvae, yung mga itlogan ng isda. Kung may massive destruction din nangyayari doon, especially the corals, liliit din, magdidwindle din yung mga fish larvae na supposedly madidistribute yan towards the inner part ng Philippine territorial waters.
And the encroachment when it comes to the West Philippine Sea, when you say that, the light detector, that type of activity, does it come from other countries?
That we don't know kasi yung lights lang yung nadidetect natin. That's why we're pushing the government na the full implementation of vessel monitoring measures. For the Philippines, na almost 90% na of our commercial fishing vessels have vessel monitoring mechanism, yung tracking devices kung saan sila nangingisda, pero meron pang mga 10% na hindi nalalagyan. Ma-identify na nun kung sino ang nangingisda, kung Filipino vessels ba siya or hindi. So, the more that we are able to track this with these devices, if the government fully implements and shares this data publicly, kasi ngayon, hindi kasi nasi-share yung data, we will know sino talaga. But of course, we have anecdotal reports naman, as you all know, kung sino yung ibang mga fishing vessels na nandyan, especially sa West Philippine Sea area.
Why does Oceana prioritize small-scale or municipal fisherfolks in its campaigns?
Yeah, of course, they are the most vulnerable, marginalized sector of our economy. They're the poorest of the poor, which is ironic kasi we're supposed to be surrounded by waters, no? Pero we're supposed to be, one of the richest in terms of marine biodiversity. Pero sila yung poorest, no? So that irony is very apparent to us, and kailangan natin ma-empower sila and also to ensure that their source of livelihood are protected from destruction, kasi kung nandyan yan, kung they're intact, hindi yan nade-destroy marine ecosystems, especially sa nearshore areas, then they could be ensured their food, the fish food that they need every day, and also the local communities that they contribute to the food security in their communities.
So how does Oceana help the small fisher folks so far?
So far, we bring their voices to the negotiating table, so we also empower them. Kasi for so long, parang they feel so unheard, disempowered. So ngayon, nadadala na natin yung boses nila sa gobyerno. We make sure that they become part of the decision or policy making processes for the management of our fisheries. And of course, may mga, in terms of mga fighting for their legal rights, may human rights or protection of their preferential rights to fisheries, kasama din natin sila sa pagpa-fight using legal tools or legal methods such as filing cases in court. So sila naman ay kasama natin all the time.
Does Oceana also act on illegal practices of small fisher folk? Let's say if they're involved in dynamite fishing or cyanide fishing.
Yes, we are involved in trainings, capacity building for law enforcement agencies. So, hindi natin pinipili. Basta illegal, basta mali yung ginagawa nila, sinasabi natin in our trainings and when we assist law enforcement agencies in the enforcement of the law, sinasabi natin na this is how they should enforce it, and they should not choose kung sino man. Basta mali yung ginagawa ng tao or ng individual. Yeah,
Sino po ba nagmo-monitor sa kanila? Lalo na yung pati yung paggamit ng fine nets that
fine
also...
mesh nets.
Yeah, exactly. That either captures the corals and the baby, yung mga little fish pa lang.
That's actually illegal per se. So, hindi siya ina-allow sa local municipality level. So, the municipality has direct jurisdiction over their municipal waters. So, kung nangyayari siya sa loob ng municipal waters, yung LGU, yung law enforcement team ng LGU, ang dapat nag-enforce against those mga uses ng fine mesh nets.
And is it true that you have issues against amending the fisheries code?
Yes, kasi the current moves to amend the fisheries code is to remove the 15-kilometer municipal water area. So, alam naman natin the 15 kilometers is very important for for the small-scale fishers. And kung alisin to, i-allow parang i-legitimize yung pagpasok ng mga commercial, industrial fishing vessels into municipal waters, that could, increase the competition between the small scale and the large commercial vessels. Eh, sino mananalo doon, di ba? And so, increased competition. And also, yung gears kasi ng commercial fishing vessels are very efficient, very destructive. So, kung i-allow mo to fish inside, masisira din yung mga corals that's inside the municipal waters. Ito yung mga habitats na nandoon kasi they use yung mga bottom trawls that drag on the seabed. So, masisira talaga. So, yun yung talagang pina-fight namin na they will not amend that. Kasi it's proven that if we protect our 15 kilometers municipal waters, that would actually be, ensure the sustainability of our resources.
Alam niyo po ba kung sino nagsusulong nitong amendment sa Fisheries Code? Sa Senate, sa Congress?
Yeah, that even the judiciary. So, meron silang case right now, di ba? That so, nagsusulong, of course, the industrial or the commercial fishing sector are pushing for it, and they've tried in the legislative. They did it through Congress. They also tried executive. So, and now they're also trying sa judiciary. So,
Judiciary, in a sense that there's a case that
there's
they've
a
filed.
pending case.
Okay. But would you know if anyone in Congress or Senate is championing this amendment for their behalf?
Not like very clear who is like the specific person championing. But we know that there have been proposals, proposed laws or bills introduced in Congress.
There's already a bill filed in Senate for the blue economy. Is this something that Oceana is involved in or has looked into to make sure that the local fisher folks are protected?
Yes, we have definitely looked into it in the last Congress, 19th Congress, and unfortunately the bill did not pass. But there were some provisions in the bill that we were not in favor of kasi tinatawag nilang parang blue economy or ocean-related activity ang reclamation, for instance. And we're definitely against reclamation kasi it contributes to the destruction of our marine resources kasi tinatambakan, di ba? Pinapatay permanently yung mga habitats natin. So, yun ang hindi namin, we were not in favor of that. We were not part of the discussion, but we were asked about it in a way. So I hope when they refile the Blue Economy bill, they will rethink that provision about using reclamation as an example or a method of enhancing, what they say, the blue economy.
Is Oceana also against the reclamation in areas like Manila Bay,
Yes.
where it seems like there's really the marine life has deteriorated for so many years already?
Yes, we are. In fact, that was one of our campaigns in the previous years that I led. And we managed to have, a what you call policy passed by the Department of the Interior and Local Government, wherein local governments were made to be, responsible for the approval of these projects without looking into the environmental impacts. So the EIA law was made serious on their part. So dapat tingnan nila ng maigi. They ensure that there will be consultations of the community. There would be appropriate, environmental and social impact assessments done before they approve this project. Kasi yun ang nangyayari. So they would be held accountable if they miss, on those prerequisites. Pero alam naman natin, di ba, it still kept on going on. And hanggang sa parang nag-call ng moratorium ring president.
Yeah. But now it's resumed. The reclamation has resumed
Some
in
of
other
them,
parts.
I
Yeah.
heard, there are no announcement yet from the president. But what they said was there would be cumulative impact assessment, right, to be conducted by DNR, which was already announced, the results of which was announced a few months ago. Na, of course, the destruction is evident in Manila Bay. And Manila Bay, they said, is still very much alive. So why are we killing
It's
it?
very much alive. Okay,
According
so
to the
since Oceana
scientists.
is science-based, kaya pa bang i-revive ang Manila Bay? Like, to the point na babalik ang mga isda at pwede pang mag-swimming ulit doon safely?
Yeah, actually, Manila Bay is very wide, no? From Bataan to Cavite. So parts of Bataan, marami pa talagang like mangroves. So these are important for, the production of fisheries. Dito sa baba, sa Cavite, yung La Papachea, yung Las Piñas, Parañaque Wildlife Park na the last remaining mangrove area daw, sabi nila, in Metro Manila. These are sources of, larvae pa rin, itlogan ng isda. Kaya meron talagang mga fishery resources pa rin, like sardines. It still produces this mga fishery species. And yung mga tahong, yung mga matahongan sa Cavite, unfortunately nga, pinapatanggal ito dahil sa reclamation project. So, yan, yung isa sa mga nakita natin direct impact of this coastal development projects.
Well, since you mentioned already sardines, how does Oceana promote sustainable sardine fishing?
Yeah, for Oceana, we help the government come up with a national sardines management plan actually. So, through our campaign, we help the government craft them. Meron na tayong plano on how to manage our sardines. Kasi ito yung staple, no, ng Filipinos, and kailangan natin ma-manage to. And so the plan needs to be implemented na lang talaga, in an honest to goodness way. We have what we call fisheries management areas na in the Philippines based on the fishing grounds. Alam natin saan fishing grounds very rich in sardines. So dapat yung management board doon tutukan, gagawa talaga ng action plan para ma-manage yung sardines na ating resources, yung very bountiful resource natin.
The fisheries management areas, FMAs, that's under the national government.
Yes. It was created by virtue of Fisheries Administrative Order 263, and the administration is with the Bureau of Fisheries. Yung head ng FMAs, may 12 FMAs tayo, would be BFAR regional directors. Pero yung body are composed of local governments, even the fisheries sector, the commercial, the municipal sector, aquaculture sector. Sila yung magde-decide, magka-craft ng policies para based on science. So, kung meron na tayong parang data on, like, ito na yung state ng galunggong, for instance, malapit na siya ma-overfish. Kailangan sila gumawa ng harvest control rules na para at least ma-manage yung
pag-fish
yung
for those.
Yung pag-dwindle. So parang kailangan mag-declare sila close season or other management measures.
Nagagawa po ba yan?
Medyo hindi, may nagagawa ng ibang areas, pero medyo huli. Kasi the science that we need, medyo doon pa tayo tumututok. Kasi doon yung deficient yung Philippines, yung the science that is needed.
The tools and the equipment that we need as well.
To study yung resources that are placed in this science assessments, scientific assessments. Pero meron ng mga areas, like I think the Palawan area, yung Galunggong, meron na silang study about ito na yung level of ng resources. Kailangan na natin i-manage. Pero of course, medyo political ang nangyayari sa pagde-decide in the management board. Kasi may voices na strong, sasabihin na, ayaw namin i-lessen yung effort namin kasi kailangan natin kuha ng kuha. So, kailangan ma-understand ng iba't ibang sector, especially those sitting in the management boards, how to step back and say, yes, we need to protect this. We need to manage it properly.
And attorney, yung na-mention mo kanina na ang mga fisherfolk natin, sila yung pinaka mahirap, vulnerable sector sila sa Pilipinas. But ano po yung ginagawa ng gobyerno natin or even groups like Oceana to help them really earn a decent income from being fishermen?
Yes, yun nga, for Oceana muna, we're now launching, we have launched a new campaign, yung Fish in Nutrition Systems campaign, na tinitutukan natin yung importance ng fish sa nutrition, daily nutritional needs ng mga artisanal, especially artisanal fisherfolk. And nakita natin in areas like Samar, where we're piloting this, one of the reasons bakit hindi nababalik yung nutrition yung fish na unfortunately sa kanilang families, sa kanilang communities is because of the lack of post-harvest facilities na mag-help mag-store or process to products that they could eat, they could keep, no? So yun yung ginagawa natin. We're focusing on post-harvest activities na bigyan sila ng equipment like ice, for instance, para mas ma-preserve ang fish longer. Hindi siya natatapon pag may wastage. Kasi may times din na marami yung kuha, may times less yung kuha. So, hindi siya consistent. So, yung kung marami, natatapon dahil wala silang ice and nasisira lang. Siyempre, sayang, di ba? At hindi nila napoprocess into, sardinas ba? Or,
But what about buying fish at a higher rate? Kasi ginagawa yan for our farmers, di ba? Yung sa rice, binibili ng NFA ng mas mahal. But it's subsidized by the government, yung diferensya sa presyo. But sa fishermen, hindi
that's
mo ba
not
kaya
done
gawin
yet.
yan?
Oo, that's not done yet. That's, actually a good idea. Kasi for now, yung market forces pa rin ang nagdidictate ng presyo ng isda. Unfortunately, yung mga dinalan ng mga fishers, kinokontrol din ng mga middlemen. Like, they buy the 50 per kilo. And then, you end up, the market, when you buy in the market, 200 per kilo. So,
ang laki ng tubo
ang laki ng tubo
Oo.
masyado. Ang nagbe-benefit are the middlemen, di ba?
Yeah.
So, kailangan tingnan din yan.
Okay. And lastly, plastic. It's a big problem in the Philippines, but even worldwide. But
Yes.
there's a report that says that the Philippines is one of the biggest exporters of plastic in the world, of plastic waste. Are there any initiatives to curb plastic pollution?
Yeah, for us kasi the only way to curb it is to stop plastic at source. Kasi yung analogy namin doon is if there's an overflowing bathtub, hindi mo lilinisan, imamap yung surrounding areas, but you turn off the tap, right? So the more we produce plastics, the plastics that we cannot manage, as solid waste, hindi natin na ma-manage. Only based on our data, only 9% of all plastics ever produced in the planet have been recycled. So 9% lang. So what happens to the 90%, no? The rest of the plastics produced. They end up everywhere in our oceans. And ngayon may studies na nasa isda na kinakain na. And then nasa air. No?
And in our bodies,
in our
actually.
bodies,
Oo,
yeah.
They've even found those particles in our organs, sa lungs. It's very disturbing.
It's very disturbing, no? So, kaya nga sabi natin, we have to stop the plastic, stop producing and, selling this plastic, especially yung single-use plastics, no? Something that we have an alternative. Hindi naman namin sinasabing totaling talagang ngayon. We can do it incrementally, no? Meron tayong batas, yung RA 9003, yung Solid Waste Management Law, that we can list non-environmental acceptable products and then phase them out, eventually. So, yung demand namin, in fact, we filed a case in the Supreme Court that we have 10 plastic items that we should phase out already, like plastic water bottles, yung plastic labo bags, yung mga plastic utensils. Meron naman tayong alternatives dyan, di ba? So,
that case is pending in the Supreme Court.
Pending pa rin in the
We're
Supreme Court.
very curious to see. Kailan niyo po final?
We filed it, I think, 2021.
Tagal na, 4 years na po.
But it was remanded to the Court of Appeals. The Court of Appeals actually ruled in our favor.
Okay.
But that it was a ministerial function. That 20 years na yung batas hindi pa ginagawa. But hindi ginawa yung gusto namin na kailangan i-phase out na yung ngayon pa yung plastic.
So that's why you're back in the Supreme Court.
In the Supreme Court.
MR?
Okay.
Motion for reconsideration.
I'm the MR.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Attorney Liza, and good luck to all the initiatives of
Thank you so
Oceana.
much. Yeah.
Thank you. From regulating public transport to defending the country's marine resources, the work of the LTFRB and Oceana reveal the everyday impact of policy on both people and the planet. Whether it's fighting fair discrimination or illegal fishing, the push for accountability remains as the core of public service. Progress begins when rules are enforced, not just for order, but for justice. Be timely informed, be insightful of the news, always stay at the forefront. Join us again tomorrow and personally get to know FPJ Panday Bayanihan Party List Representative Brian Poe Lamanzares. This is Attorney Karen Jimeno. Thank you for spending your hour with us.